Hi, my name is Elisa D, and I'm here with Katie Green, and we decided to bring you all a show called Let's Get Therapy. I would love for Katie, you to explain to our listeners what they're going to get out of this.
Well, it's basically exactly what Elisa just said. It's therapy, and I have all of the problems, and Elisa D has all of the answers. So I'm going to be the perfect client throughout this whole thing. And, she has an advanced degree in psychotherapy. Maybe I need a speech degree as well. And she specializes in trauma, addiction, and PTSD. And considering the world we're all kind of living in right now with COVID and the wildfires and the election coming up, a lot of stuff is going on. And there have been a lot of conflicts in families and friends and people dealing with their own demons isolated. And so I think this is going to be an awesome show where you're going to have some insight into some of the thoughts that some people are having or things that they're going through and not really feeling like they can open up about it.
That's right. I'm super excited because Katie is going to be a great representation of just the layperson, everything that you might be feeling or going through in this pandemic, shelter in place, wearing masks, not being able to work outside of your home. All of those things are really closing in on people's mental health. And so I really want to touch base on that because I think in one way or the other, everyone's mental and emotional health, relationships, have been affected in some way. So I think it's super important for somebody to finally talk about this piece of things because we're all about health, but mental health matters too. And that's really taking a huge toll on everyone in America at this point, and especially where we are, California.
Right.
Rules are a little tighter here and we're running things a little bit differently. And so people here are really taking the virus very seriously. And so there's a lot of fear and anxiety, and then depression is coming on top of that. And so I think we need to talk about it. Katie, what have you experienced in this pandemic?
Oh gosh, I think you went through a lot of it.
Right.
And one thing I just want to add in, I think that this show is really important because there's this weird stigma with mental health where people don't want to talk about it because, then the word, they start thinking if they're crazy or not. And
Right.
You're not crazy. Everybody's feeling like they are right now because everything's weird. But one of the things that you mentioned right off the bat is something that has started to affect me more recently. I've been working from home this whole
Right.
time, and I have not actually been in my physical office since March. And it didn't bother me so much at first. I was like, all right, this is cool. I can go cook some breakfast. My dog's here. This is great. And then I started realizing I am not leaving the house at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get off work and then I'm downstairs and I'm like, okay, usually I'd get home and I'm like, yes, I'm back from home or I'm back at home, but I never leave. And it's a weird feeling.
So think about that. I mean, that in and of itself, just having your work kind of mushed together with your personal life, with your recreational life. It's just kind of all in one place. It's like you're just moving from one room to the next to find something different to do.
Yes.
And that is challenging in and of itself. But then let's think about the person who already isolates when they're feeling sad, or who already has some sort of bent towards depression or anxiety. And it's like, oh, well, I'm at home already, so this is perfect. I'm not going to go out at all. And then that depression that's already kind of like under there, it's just going to squish you. It's just going to take you over. And, it's fun at first. It's a scary road to go down for some people. And
Absolutely.
even you who maybe doesn't experience depression naturally, I'm sure you've had some things pop up where you're like, whoa, that's not normal for me.
Oh yeah, I've had moments where I'm sitting here and I am the extroverted introvert. Like I can go out and be in a group of people and be totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time I love to be at home in like what is my safe space.
Right.
But it's hard to have your safe space be something that's kind of starting to drive you nuts at the same time.
Yes. Yes. And so your safe place is no longer your safe place.
No.
It's becoming the everything place, which that's very, very challenging for people. And then there's people who have multiple individuals of multiple ages in their homes. I have spoken to one family, there's 3 teenage girls in their home. So this,
Oh,
I see couples and I see children and I see individuals. And so this is a couple and they've come to me and never have they had marriage issues. And they're having marriage issues now because their 3 teenagers are at home 24/7. What wasn't a problem before is now a problem. Where they were on the same page parenting before, they're no longer on the same page. And so it's adding these additional challenges that nobody really thought about before. And marriages are really taking a toll right now. Relationships, not just marriages, but relationships inside of households. People are not used to being together this much.
oh no, no, we are not.
Right, right. I know you have a fiance, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is he
And
working from home?
no, he actually, he
Okay.
works, we work very similar hours and he is gone for the extent of my shift. But I love him with all of my heart. But I will say we were supposed to get married in May, and
Oh.
we got coronaed, so the wedding got canceled. So
Mm-hmm.
we pushed it off to next year, which is totally fine. But I will say there have been some instances where we have had to sit down and have conversations about certain communication tactics or
Mm-hmm.
maybe little things that I'm noticing happening around the house that I didn't notice before because I was, whatever it might be.
Right.
I kind of feel like I'm under a microscope
Yes.
at
And,
all times.
and you are,
Yeah,
because you're home at all times.
right.
So everything, chores, cooking, you're home. You should be doing those things, right? Because you're around, or, maybe you're just the way that you're communicating because you're around each other more often is becoming a little bit more harsh, a little bit more spiteful. There's like resentments building, and it adds layer upon layer upon layer of challenge. In fact, that brings up a really important point that I wanted to talk about: domestic violence. Domestic violence right now has majorly spiked in our country. I don't know if you've heard this at all.
Really.
It it's crazy because of exactly what you and I are talking about right now. Couples do not have the skills to be together this often. And this is kind of what drives me crazy about safer at home, because
Hmm.
safer at home is not always safer at home. You have couples who already are experiencing domestic violence, and so then it's just going to be compounded, right? People are going to be very hurt at this point. In fact, the amount of deaths that are currently the statistics for the amount of deaths in the US have almost doubled because of domestic violence. Not so, it's this is a huge problem. And then we'll have like the normal couple, right, who, like you and your fiance, you're fine, you do your things, but you're fighting more. And then if you really don't have skills to take care of those arguments that you have, somebody out of frustration might just get physical, might just get hit because there's a lack of skills. We are not, as a culture and a society, used to being together this much and having to communicate this much and having to work together this much. So that was a lot.
Well, you would think that that would be a major headline that, domestic violence is on the rise.
Right. You would think so, but we're very worried about coronavirus only right now.
Right.
But the other thing that's on the rise is suicides.
Yes.
Suicides have majorly increased, and I think that's gotten a little more play than the domestic violence, but suicide has increased as well. So you've heard about that.
That I have heard about, and the only reason I have heard about that is because I have seen 3 people with friends online that they've posted in the last 2 weeks that have committed suicide, because it's just, I don't know if they don't have an outlet or something's going on at home and they couldn't talk about it. I mean, that's just, it's so sad, because thank God, I personally can't see myself going that way, but I have friends who have had those thoughts and have found help and ended up being okay. But I've talked to them about it, and that's dark. And if you can't get it out,
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, the worst outcome.
Right. And so, I mean, you make a really good point. all therapy has moved to telehealth. So it's on this platform that you and I are utilizing. And while this is really nice, like I love talking to you, it's not quite the same.
Right.
I mean, we can't feel each other's energy, not to
Yeah.
get all hippie on you, but there is an energy that we should be able to feel back and forth. And there's certain things that we're not able to get that we would get in person from one another. And also, reaching out for therapy on this kind of platform, it takes a lot of courage to reach out to do something like this.
Yeah. Have you noticed anybody that you talk to, since you're having to do it this way, maybe holding back because their person is home that they can't talk about or anything like that? Has that been something you've noticed? Because I would think, because like right now I'm like, well, my fiance can hear me, but oh well.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like you don't have that in office, like we were talking about earlier, the safe
Yeah.
spaces.
The confidentiality
Yeah.
is a little looser in some cases because of that. That's a great point. I do always check in with my clients. Are you in a place where nobody can hear you, or in a place where you feel comfortable talking about things? But
Okay.
I don't know if they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe their aggressive husband is outside the room. I don't know. Or their angry wife is outside the room. I have no idea. I just go off of what they're telling me. So I don't know if they're holding back, but Katie, there's a lot of potential to that.
What a
Um,
challenge, like for you as someone who's trying to read and help someone feel better. You really have this weird digital distance.
Digital distance. I like that. Digital distance.
Digital distance.
I'm going to use that when I go to see my clients and be like, how do you feel about the digital distance between us?
That's what it is, because I mean, while we are having this quote unquote face-to-face conversation, we're in two totally different parts of the Bay Area.
Right, which is super cool.
Yeah.
That we can do that. Thank
Right.
God for technology. It's fantastic, but it's not the same. So, I mean, okay, so those are really sad things to talk about, but they're real and they're really important for us to know that, again, like I'm going to say it again, safer at home is not always safer at home. Domestic violence has increased, suicide rate has increased, and then, what we didn't even talk about is child abuse. Okay. Sorry, this is dark, but it's really important that we're thinking of all the people that are affected by the way that we're moving forward with handling this virus. It's important to look at all aspects. So, child abuse. Reports have gone down from mandated reporters. So they are less. What do you think that's about? Let's play a little guessing game.
The kids aren't going to school.
That's right. The kids aren't going to
Whoa.
school.
They can't tell their teachers.
They can't tell their teachers. The teachers don't see if they've been neglected or hit or whatever the case might be. So reports have gone down.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Which they are the innocent ones in all this. And honestly, I think that kids and teens, not just in the area of child abuse, negligence, physical abuse, but children and teens are just taking a major hit in their lives from this whole thing. I mean, think about when you were like, let's just say 16. What were you doing?
Oh, I had just gotten my car. I was going out with my friends, going to the mall, going to the movies. Very, very social, on a sports team. I played basketball.
Right.
So I was going to practice. So I was all over the place.
Now think about if someone just pulled all that from you.
I don't even do. I have no idea what I'd do. That'd be crazy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's happening.
That's what's happening. Yeah. So I mean, I realize I just went from child abuse to like, look at all the things taken away from these social teenagers, but people under 18 in general are taking a major hit. And think about where these kids and these teenagers are at developmentally. 16 is crucial. It is a crucial time in your life.
Yeah.
You're discovering who you are, you're making crazy mistakes, you're making good choices too, but you're doing things that are really propelling you into your future as an adult. And these kids are stuck.
It's like the brakes have been put on their lives.
Yeah, perfect. The brakes have been put on their lives, which really worries me for when these kids, if this continues for much longer, become adults. And they say that children are our future, and they really are, but we're stunting them developmentally.
Oh my gosh. See, there are so many little parts of life that you are going to be able to add during the show, because you just fired through several things I didn't even think of.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And we can't hit every one, but I feel like throughout our time together, we'll be able to expand on these different things. And I think we can really dive in, and we're just kind of hitting the surface at this point. But, you know, it's, again, I'm going to say it for the third time. Safer at home is not always safer at home. People are hurting. People are in pain mentally, emotionally, physically, because they can't connect, because they can't do the things that they're used to doing. So I mean, you had told me before in one of our previous conversations that, what did you say? It's like working a muscle. Being a kid is like, childhood is like building your muscle or something.
Yeah.
It was so good. What did you say?
Oh no.
It takes practice.
I'll have to. Yeah. Being a child, it's like, it takes practice.
Right.
And if you don't practice, you're not going to get any better. And that's not as well as I said it.
No, you said it really good last time.
I'll try to remember it. And if it comes back, I'll use it next time.
Okay. It was so profound. I mean, I remember the basis of it is, if we don't give children, teens, people the opportunity to practice doing life, we lose our skills.
Mm-hmm.
And life takes a lot of skills. And that's what 0 to 15, 16 is about.
Right.
You're learning skills so that you can go into the world and be a productive, functional adult human being.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that same note, I'm curious, have you noticed yourself losing any skills in the last 9 months?
Socially, not really.
You're super social.
Yeah, I love to. I've been on the phone a lot with my friends throughout this whole thing, so there's been plenty of talking. But work-wise, I have noticed almost because I'm at home and I'm recording and then processing my work, rather than just hopping on the air right away, because I don't have that access here. Mm-hmm. So I've actually found that I used to do everything in like one take.
Right.
And now sometimes it'll take me 2, 3, and then I'll just erase it and then start over. But there are little things where it's like certain work skills for sure.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, dealing with the public. Right. I go from 0 to irritated pretty fast. Mm-hmm. And I find myself, I went to Safeway the other day and I was irritated before I got out of there. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not used to having to deal with people like that, like I haven't.
Yeah. What happened? Was there like a trigger that set you off?
Oh, it was just, I have a real issue with people who who are oblivious. People who just have their blinders on,
right. Right.
And so I noticed that this guy, he was on his phone and he had 2 little kids running around like crazy in the store. And one of them jumped out and I almost hit the kid with my cart, which there goes my month. I would have felt awful. Right.
Right.
And he didn't even see it happen at all. And I was just like, oh, what is with people? I went into an instantly get off my lawn mode. I was like, what's with people out here? It was
these idiots everywhere.
Yeah, but it's little things like that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have necessarily sent me off earlier.
Right.
So.
And then on that same note though, right? Those kids are also out of practice.
Right.
That's what I noticed. That's really interesting you bring this up, is that when the first time I took my kids to the grocery store during this pandemic, I was finally like, okay, they're coming to the store with me. I think we were like 3 months into the whole thing. And they would normally just like walk down an aisle with me, hold the cart, just talk, whatever. They were nuts. Like running up and down the aisles. Like I yelled in the store. I'm like, come back here. And I'm like, what is happening? My children don't know how to be in public anymore. And that was my first thought was, it's been so long since we've been out of our house around other people that I've lost a little bit of a parenting skill, right? And they've lost the ability to like really hear my voice in these types of situations. And so, I mean, you probably experienced like my version, which made you annoyed.
Right.
while
See,
you
but
were
you weren't oblivious about it. I
right.
would have rather him yelling, "Get back here," than be, tapping around on TikTok or Ding Dong or whatever that app is that
Right.
everybody's using.
Which
But that circles back to it takes practice.
it takes practice.
Life
Exactly.
takes practice. And you know what? I didn't even think about the kids because I was too irritated with the dad. But now you're right. Those kids they're out of practice.
Yes. Everybody's out of practice.
You just gave me a notch in my tolerance. Take it down. Think about the kids too. Everything's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay. Since you have been at home so much, how and what skills have you developed to kind of compartmentalize things? Like what coping skills have you started to use?
I ended up getting a self-care journal that
Oh,
has
okay.
been crucial. Just kind of, I take about 10 minutes every day and just sit down by myself. And it has like a little journaling area with, what's bothering you and all this. But then it has like daily exercises. The one today was on motivation.
Oh,
And a lot of people's motivation has been taken from them with the
yeah.
loss of job, relationship, whatever it may be.
Right.
And so one of the things that motivates me still, and I don't know if this is gonna sound bizarre, but I am highly motivated to make my mom and dad proud, whether it's doing something for somebody out of kindness or progressing in work or, I've been working on some new art projects that I made one for my parents that they love. They took it to their house in Idaho. But just like little things like that, like that's driving me right now. But this book has been kind of giving me things each day, patience reminders and stuff like that. So that's been my 10. I always say I'm taking my 10 minutes.
Okay. You said some really important things. I want to at some point circle back to your parents, making your parents happy, motivating you. Maybe not this moment, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's a whole nother topic because I think that's a really important insight for all of us to have, like what motivates us, what's a healthy motivator, what's not a healthy motivator. So I think that's a really important thing for us to come back to. But
Yeah.
self-care in general, I think that's a really also important topic because self-care doesn't always just look like I'm getting my nails done, I'm getting my hair done. It can look like
Right.
sitting down and journaling. It can look like exercise. It can also look like spending extra time on preparing to get your work done because that's what feels good to you. It can be like, oh, I'm gonna create 30 minutes before my work so that I can prep myself. There's self-care can look like so many different things. So when you're
Yeah.
doing your journaling, does it ask you, is it like you're journaling for self-care or what is that like?
I feel like it's kind of trying to pull the self-care out of me. It's a
Okay.
very broad topic each day. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's the page that has the topic where you go through their little exercises. Like today, what motivates you? Why does it motivate you? What can you do to further that?
Right.
And then on the next page, it'll ask questions like, have you felt any loss of motivation? Where? So it kind of takes it from a positive aspect into, well, everything has kind of a pro and a con. So here's what could be happening on the other side. So have you
Right.
noticed lack of motivation for, and I have for working out. I was working out like crazy every day at the start of this pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm down to like 3 days a week, maybe. I'm still trying to walk every day, but I got to get back to that. So it was
Right.
just, it kind of breaks it down. And I don't know. It's something where after the 10 minutes, I feel better. So I'm going to do
Absolutely.
it.
So I think that's a great place to kind of like circle us back and wrap up is self-care during this time. You hit it on the head. It's super important. And the reason, I mean, you're outlining it right now, is taking 10 minutes for yourself every day and reflecting on what is my motivation? Why am I doing what I'm doing? How can I increase motivation? What have I seen be taken away by whatever life circumstances I'm in? Those are
Mhm.
super important to really have like a check and balance system for yourself. So I think that's one amazing coping skill. exercise in general is an amazing coping skill. It's something that will naturally boost our endorphins. It's something that will just make our body, we'll feel strong. We'll feel like we did something for the day. So even if it's just walking though, Katie, that's good because you're setting aside time for yourself, or you and your fiance, or you and your cute little puppy.
Yeah.
You're doing things that make you feel good, and you'll feel like, okay, at the end of the day, I took a walk and that feels really good today, right? So there's that. And then I would say just another very basic thing is like taking care of your nutrition, really checking out how am I fueling my body? And is there a room for maybe an Oreo in there? Like
Oh,
we
there's
all need,
always room for an Oreo.
yeah. And giving yourself permission to eat the Oreo.
I like that.
Or
Eat the Oreo.
eat the Oreo or the 5. Or whatever. We have to cut ourselves some slack.
Yes.
During this time, we have to be gentle with ourselves because the world is going crazy and we can't go crazy with it.
I think that's perfect. You're right. The world is going crazy and we cannot go crazy with it.
No, we have to take really good care of ourselves. We have to increase our tolerance level, like you said a few minutes ago, which is really challenging because we're out of practice. But we really have to look around and go, this pandemic is hurting so many people in such a scary way. Like how am I doing in comparison to that? Am I in this bracket where it's like, ugh, life is just heavy? Or are you in this bracket where safer at home is not safer at home? And as a therapist, I have to say, if you are one of those people who feels like safer at home is not safer at home, reach out for help. It is really important that you get yourself some therapy, or even if calling 911, finding a safe place to be able to call 911, all those things you have to do to keep yourself safe, even if it feels uncomfortable. Creating a safety plan for yourself. Someday we can go over that, but reach out for professional help if you find yourself in the home is not safer at home any longer. I have to give that PSA because
it's needed right now.
Yeah.
It is.
It really is. And it's, what we're experiencing as a country, as a state, it's scary. And I think we all need permission to be gentle with ourselves. We all need permission to take care of ourselves. And we need permission to go seek professional help if we need professional help. It is right now, ignore whatever stigma you think there is and go get the help that you need. Medi-Cal pays for therapy. Therapy can be very expensive. Insurance pays for therapy, and then there's sliding scales out there. So that's my public service announcement for therapy in general. It's a good thing. And I know, Katie, you said you saw a therapist at one point in your life and it was beneficial for you.
Saw one for about 10 years, and I actually was talking to one for the first few weeks of lockdown.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was just nothing felt right, and I had to get some help. And even though it was over the phone, I felt better, and
right.
I do feel better. And now I'm talking to you. So
here we go.
There we go.
So Katie wasn't so much my client today, but she's going to be more and more my client. I really feel like we're going to be diving into some of the stuff that drives her, and I'm really excited about that. But right now, I feel like the focus is so important to just touch on all these random important things that are affecting so many people in our country right now. And even if you're not in that safer at home isn't safer at home category, you're probably feeling like you're living in a pressure cooker in a lot of ways. So release some of the pressure, be gentle, be kind to yourself, go have some fun. If you can, have a fun Zoom cocktail hour with a friend. If you can.
Oreo.
Eat the Oreo. I think that's our show.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's all stuff that everybody's dealing with. Yeah. And that's some.
Yeah. And then Katie had a great idea. If you're listening to this and you really want to hear a certain topic, hear us talk about a certain topic, or hear what's going on in Katie's life about that topic and have me help her, send us a message. and we can focus on that topic. That'll give us some things to talk about. And I think whatever topic you want to discuss, there's probably a whole bunch of other people that are thinking the same thing. So reach out to us via.
I would do, I have my Katie Green Facebook page that I'm always checking. So if you go facebook.com/KatieG Radio, you'll see me, and just send me a message. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, hate mail, I take that too. It's all good.
We take it all.
I love it. This is going to be fun.
Eat the Oreo.
Eat the Oreo. Get off my lawn.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.